sit back, relax, take my seat, and
no.
bye-bye. Let's go. Oh no.
Hello everyone from the Museum of Transport Greater Manchester. My name is Maxon and today we're going to show some of my Singapore bus driver friends around the museum. In Singapore, where I'm originally from, it's illegal to drive any commercial vehicle over the age of 20 years old. You can keep them off the roads as a static display under an incredibly restrictive scheme that I'll go into more detail later. Unsurprisingly, there are no transport museums in Singapore and most buses get sent to scrap at the end of their service life. So with that in mind, let's see what my friends from Singapore have to say about the whole experience.
Hi, we're from Singapore and we are thankful for this opportunity to visit the museum right here in Manchester. It's actually a great opportunity to take a look at these marvels when they are preserved after their lifespan. In Singapore, we don't actually have this type of body, but we had something similar.
Seeing this in real life, it just brings back a lot of memories because we don't really have such things in Singapore where buses are well preserved for the public to view these buses. So having such a first-hand look and knowing that Singapore has had history with these buses before is something that brings back a lot of memories and it's very nostalgic, I would say.
Especially when preservation in Singapore very hard. A few collectors managed to preserve UFO in other countries. In Singapore, we are slowly taking the steps to preservation. However, it's mainly meant for educational purposes. You don't get to see a lot of things like this in Singapore. So it's really a wonder.
There actually is one bus that's almost properly preserved in Singapore, for now. Rumour has it that this Mercedes-Benz 0405G was initially meant to be cut apart for a project, but those plans fell through. Now it's set in limbo inside a bus depot, registered under the restrictive deregistered vehicle keeping scheme. Yeah, I know, registered as deregistered. It's a special arrangement that allows you to keep a deregistered vehicle on private land for a fee of roughly £377 for a 3-year permit. The vehicle must display tamper-proof number plates and undergo audits from the authorities to ensure compliance with the scheme's many conditions. It goes without saying that it can never be driven on public roads, and it's anyone's guess what will happen when the permit expires.
It's actually amazing that there are people who take the effort to preserve, restore, and showcase it out so that other members of the public get to experience what members of the past actually felt. Especially for people in the community, drivers, the older generation nowadays who have probably seen this and like, that's my school bus, you know. So it does bring back a lot of memories, and by preserving something that has been a part of someone's livelihood for don't know how many years, it's actually good for them to look back. And at the same time, to make a comparison as we actually move forward into the newer age of electric and diesel-free vehicles and seeing how we have actually come a long way. Actually goes to show that we actually remember how the whole journey started off, especially with the very older generation of buses.
A big thumbs up to the volunteers who made all this preservation possible. The fixtures and everything is restored back into almost like pristine condition. You know, the seats are all clean, and that's what kind of amazes us when we first visited the museum. So that everything was so new, that kind of restored back to how it was originally, and it all runs. So wow, that's amazing.
Operators, coach builders have actually gone a very long way with technology in shaping to what transport is today. If you like look at the older generations, in Singapore, we actually have buses that were completely non-aircon, and this is actually something that is very common over here. So like people will not understand what's with the purposes of like having ventilation ducts on the buses or having these hopper windows that are actually not as common on the modern air-conditioned buses. So looking at how things have evolved, with conductors being shown off, air conditioning coming to the buses, engines are now being replaced by batteries. So as we see the evolution, we will tend to forget all of this led up to what transport is in modern day times. So it's always good to know where we started from, how far we've came, and to see where we are at in the modern day today.
Yeah, I mean it's important because the world is constantly like progressing into the future, right? So it's important to take a step back and look back into how engineers have kind of come up with all these technical stuff that made buses much more efficient and comfortable as we go along in the future. Like what Nas said, it's important to have all these technologies being showcased to us to kind of appreciate what people do back then and how have we excelled forward.
Because if it's not for the work of the preservers, the collectors, and the people holding these pieces of history together, what story would we tell in the future? This kind of bus is definitely older than my era of buses. I think it's actually even older than my parents' era of buses. But being able to ride it today gives me an eye-opener view of how people back then in the 1960s, 1950s would have traveled, what they would have experienced, and how would they have felt. I mean, it's good to have something like this beautifully restored and preserved today to actually feel what it was like back then.
A little bit too scared.
A little bit scared.
Obviously, not used to the environment. Kind of open, not like how we have modern buses with air conditioning and whatnot.
So, wait.